Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. And today we're going to do a very important video. It's very important because JavaScript is one of the main languages that we use to make our website come alive, do its mechanism from showing and hiding different elements on your site or on your page. And we're going to use smooth scroll bar listeners to toggle visibility at the right scroll depth without fighting the plugin. So now we connect the behaviors. CSS already knows how to hide and show scroll top. JavaScript decides when to toggle visibility. So the key is to listen to smooth scroll offset, not native window scroll events. So we have step 5 and step 6. Step 5 promotes page smooth scroll to module scope with let page smooth scroll equals no. So this makes the scroll instance available after initialization. And then in step 6, we're going to replace the local let declaration with assignment, then add a listener that toggles button visibility at offset Y vertical greater than 300 pixels. Only class toggling, when you toggle, belongs in JavaScript. Visual transition stays in Sass. So we're going to promote variable scope. So in your app.js, we're going to locate the block of code constant initialize smooth scroll, which is the function, and we're going to add the code let page smooth scroll equals no right above it. So why are we going to do this? Well, because if it stays function scope, which is if page smooth scroll stays declared inside the function, you cannot safely attach post init listeners outside that local declaration. And then we're going to go ahead and replace the local let, meaning that within the function, we're going to find this block of code here, and we're going to delete the let or get rid of it, backspace or whatnot, right? We're going to get rid of it. So we're going to drop it, which we're going to drop the let, which avoids shadowing and ensures you assign to the module level variable from step 5, right? So it avoids shadowing because one, it's very easy to see that this declaration is right on top of the function. So if you're going to be working really close to that function, they're very close. So when you go ahead and go into that function, you most likely won't be recreating or reassigning, or should I say redeclaring your page smooth scroll, because it's pretty obvious that you already did that at the top. So you want to declare it as no in the module scope, which means throughout the whole module or application that you're working on at the moment, which is in your app.js or basically your whole web application, right? So you want to keep it outside the function, and then within the function, you want to assign it to the document body or to the page itself. You want to assign the scroll bar, and then we want to get rid of the X or the horizontal scroll bar at the bottom. This is what this line of code means. So again, you're dropping the let, avoids shadowing, and ensures you assign the module level variable from step 5. And like I said, it just makes it a little easier for you to not make that mistake of reassigning the same variable or redeclaring it over again. And you want to be able to use it throughout your whole application. That's why you declare it at the top as no, to be able to have easier, flexible control over it. So we're going to go ahead and add the scroll listener right after initialization. Add this block of code. We're going to add this block of code right after we initialize it, right? So constant scroll top button equals document query selector dot scroll top, right? So it's selecting the scroll top button, and if it does exist, this is a function. This is a safeguard function, I believe it's called. But it prevents it from using this function if it doesn't exist, right? So pageSmoothScroll.addListener. So we're going to add the listener offset, and with offset, if offset is greater than 300, then we're going to keep it visible. If it's above it, then remove visibility. So offset wise is current vertical position in pixels, right? And the 300 pixel threshold keeps the hero area clean before exposing the control. So why aren't we using window.scroll? Well, this project uses Smooth-Scrollbar, which intercepts and owns scrolling behaviors, right? It's already using Smooth-Scrollbar. It's going to intercept the clicks. When you click it, it's going to scroll to that specific section based on your hashtag or ID that you assigned it to, right? We already went over that in our last previous videos, right? So the native windows.eventListener scroll does not give reliable events for this setup. pageSmoothScroll.addListener is the current integration point. So this is a voice line that I put in here because Scrollbar controls scroll states. We subscribe to its offset listener instead of the browser's native Windows scroll event. So instead of using window.scroll event listener, we're going to use the offset listener. So that's very important to distinguish the difference. And then when we go ahead and test the sequence, we want to go ahead and load the page at the top. We're going to scroll to top control is hidden, right? So scroll to top control or button should be hidden. If scroll past 300 pixels, control fades VI dot visible. Scroll back above threshold, control fades out. So at 300 pixels is visible, above 300 pixels threshold it fades out. And then when we click the button, returns to landing target through anchor hash, right? Or the ID. So now that we're done with the wiring up, the show and hide logic and JavaScript, we're going to go ahead and jump into the coding part. We're going to code each code line by line. It's very simple. It's not as complicated as we think it is. It's actually very easy. So just sit back and relax as we move along to the coding part. It's going to be great. Let's go ahead and jump in. Hello, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. So today we're going to do something very important. We're going to go ahead and talk about the JavaScript line by line, okay? So in this video, we focus on the JavaScript that shows and hides dot scroll top using smooth scroll offset data, okay? So obviously we're speaking about the button all the way at the bottom that when we click it, it then goes all the way to the landing section, okay? So we have two steps that I want to focus on. The first step is step 5. So we want to go ahead and add the let page smooth scroll equals no right above the function. So let me show you. Let's go ahead and code this real quick, and let's open up app.js. And in here, right on top of the function initialize smooth scroll, we're going to add and declare the variable page smooth scroll, just like that. Go ahead and assign it no, so it can then be initialized, right? So I want you to understand what's going on here. Now, it's been declared in two places. Declare and assign in two places. First is declared outside of the function, which makes it a module scope, and then it's then declared here also, right? Declare and assigned. So now the problem is that when we run the program and it jumps into the function, it's been assigned no, but then it's then reassigned and redeclared. So whatever the page scroll module scope is waiting to get, is not going to get it because it's being reassigned in two places. You know, it's being redeclared. So it's declared outside of scope. It's like, okay, I'm an empty container. I'm waiting for something. I'm waiting for this function to give me some sort of output, right? Give me something to work with. But as soon as it jumps inside the function, it then gets redeclared and reassigned. It's not supposed to be redeclared, because when it's redeclared, it's like starting from fresh. It's like, okay, so you're not an empty container anymore. You do have something, but I'm not going to give it to you because I'm going to redeclare it as that, you know, it's going to be, in this case, it's pointing to the document body. So it's not going to receive anything. It's a little confusing at first, but as you use this type of functions over and over again, it's going to make a lot more sense. Okay, so just understand that you can't redeclare it in both scopes, outside of the function and inside of the function. You can only declare it in one place like that. The initialize function, which is the one that we just created right now, that we just declare, eventually receives what this one is, what this page smooth scroll and this page smooth scroll is assigned to, right? Once you assign it to page smooth scroll, it's going to also affect the module scope page smooth scroll. So let's go ahead and look at the slide real quick. So that's basically what I just did right now. I just declared and assigned pageSmoothScroll. So now eventually we're going to assign the instance for the toggle for it to be visible based on the offset Y, which is the vertical scroll bar. So eventually when it reaches 300 pixels and above, or higher than 300 pixels, eventually it will then be visible, the button, right? Just like the button that we have here. This button right now is visible, but if we go all the way to the bottom, is not visible. Okay, so it looks like my page went blank. I must have done something wrong. Let's go ahead and restart the server. Oh, yeah, maybe this is what's giving the problem at the moment. Let me see if that's the case. It's good to go over these errors. Control C. I'm gonna go ahead and restart the server just so you can have a view of and a taste of why not to use redeclare the same variable inside of a function, outside of a function. But I doubt that's the case. Okay, so right now we don't have the button. Obviously, this step is going to make sure that it's going to become visible. That's the whole point. So you see, this one is obviously visible because that's how we set up and put together this website, and it definitely is visible. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. So this is basically the next step, but let's go ahead and go over the code once again, just for practical purposes, right? So we got let page smooth scroll equals no, right? So it's the first line creates one shared variable for the scroll bar instance, right? So it's just one shared variable. Right now it's two shared variables with the same keyword let, right? Or declaration. It's let is being declared with let or variable, right? So no means not initialized yet. It's not initialized yet. Well, it's not going to be initialized because we keep declaring the variable. We need to assign it a value so then it can then be initialized up here. So the function line that starts the setup block where the instance is created. This is the function line that starts the setup block. So this function line starts up the setup block, right? So this constant variable called initialize smooth scroll is a function that's going to set up the function itself. What it's going to have available is going to be configured based on these properties right here. So let's go ahead. Well, I mean, I explained this too. If this variable stays local, it is easy to shadow and harder to extend. And this is what we mean by shadowing. See, shadowing. This is not good. We're basically shadowing what this one is doing. This one's doing the same in the sense that it's being declared and reassigned. But as soon as we take this off, which we eventually will, it's not declared anymore. It's not just assigned. Okay, but let's go step by step so we can understand it better. So the option object line by line. Well, this right here, dampen controls the smoothness and inertia and feel. As of right now, if we go to the site and we click on contact, right, well, it's already there based on the URL link. So we need to manually take this off and then press enter. It's going to restart. Now, once I click contact, it's going to move all the way down, and it's pretty smooth. It goes a little quick because it's far down to the end, so we don't want it to go too slow. But if I were to, let's say, change this to like a 4, right, now the inertia is going to go much quicker now. So let's check it out. Yeah, this is let's go ahead and delete this manually. I could restart the server, but I don't feel like it. It's already been updated. And let's click on contact. Watch this. You see how instant it was? That there was no smoothness there. So we want to go ahead and keep this at 0 right here. We're going to go ahead and save this. And now we're going to go ahead and do it again. And just to double check and make sure that it's working properly so you can see. And now it's smooth again. This is smoother. You see, it's not that instant, which is the way we want it to work. Okay. So next, we're gonna go ahead and explain. Okay, so always track always show tracks is equals true, it keeps track UI, user interface visible. So basically it's talking about the scroll bar. So we want the scroll bar to be visible at all times, right? As of right now, it's not visible. So let's double check this real quick. I believe it's because of this again. That's something I have to look into. And it should be visible. I don't think I changed it to false. So let's double check that. Again, I believe this is because of the let. It might not be because of that, but it's definitely this. If we put this as false, we're not gonna, well, this is gonna happen. We have no scroll bar, nor on the y-axis vertical or the x-axis. So let me go ahead and stop the server. We're gonna go ahead and stop the server. Control backtick, Control C. We're gonna go ahead and npm start, and it's restarting. Let's just make sure that, yeah, we lost this part, but let's keep moving along, and eventually it should show up again. So like I said, the always show track means that the scroll bar should be showing, but then we decided to disable the X track, which is the X-axis, which is the horizontal track. Okay, so blocks horizontal movement, so scrolling stays vertical, so no scrolling on the X horizontal track, which is the scroll bar. Okay, so use constant option because the object reference is not reassigned. So yeah, we want to make sure that it's a constant variable or array, because we want to make sure it's not reassigned. So this option blocks defines behavior before the instance is initialized. So it defines the behavior, it sets it up, it configures it, right? So now we're going to go ahead and assign assignment. We're going to go ahead and go through it line by line. So we're going to replace this with this. Basically just remove the let. The second line removes the horizontal track element. So this is where we remove the horizontal track. We remove it here. And here we make sure that it's not usable, right? We disable the scroll, but here we remove it completely. So let's go ahead and remove the let. And then let's go ahead and restart it. Control C. Make sure we click here to get in our terminal. Control C. And we're going to npm start. And we should be able to see the scroll bar now. Yes, there's the scroll bar. That's what I was looking for. So now if we click on contact, now the scroll bar is shown, but not the X track, which is the horizontal scroll bar is not shown. Great. So now what we need to do is, okay, so as of right now, we're gonna go over the query and guard, right? So this is the query selector. So this is basically gonna select the class scroll top, which eventually selects the element scroll top in the DOM, which is the button. Okay, so if we look at the button over here, this is the skeleton of the button, and if we go into the CSS, Control P landing, right, this is the actual styles. This is what gives it its look and feel, its color. So we're going to select the dot scroll top, which eventually in turn also selects the DOM. So it's more like selecting the DOM. That's basically the way we look at it. So we're going to select the button, right? Yeah, it's a little back and forth there, but that's the whole purpose of that. Constant scroll top button equals document dot query selector. We're going to select the button scroll top. Okay, so first line finds the button element. Again, element, but yet is using the dot scroll top, which points more to the CSS because it has the dot scroll top. Yeah, it's a little confusing, but it really isn't. I'm probably confusing it more than what it is. So once it selects the button, then it makes sure that it actually exists. And if it does, then go ahead and go through the block of code in the function or in the if statement. And if it doesn't, then it creates a guard, meaning that it's not going to throw an error. So the first line finds the button element, the second line guards against null to avoid runtime errors. So this keeps the script safe, even if markup is removed or renamed. So we removed the markup, right? Which this is what this is. Markup is basically notes. That's the whole point of the HTML. You're like noting what you're going to do, what the page is going to look like. You're going to put a section over here. You're going to put a button here. And you just put notes here. This is what it is. So if we were to change the class to like scroll top 2, it's not going to throw a runtime error, at least when it comes to this if statement, right? So this keeps the script safe even if markup is removed or renamed, all right? So the next step, which is step 6C, is the listener plus the threshold. So the pageSmoothScroll.addListener, what it does is it listens for an offset property. Now this offset property, we go ahead and created an if statement. So if the offset vertical axis is greater than 300, then it's going to be visible. In this case, we're talking about the actual button. So let's go ahead and run the page. Let's go control backtick. We're gonna npm start the server. We're gonna run the site and make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And I believe it should be working properly by now. So if I click on the contact just to go all the way down, we should see the button. As you can see, we got the button here, and as soon as I click it, it sends me right back up to the landing page. Okay, so now that's exactly what this means. If I'm at above 300 pixels or below 300 pixels, then it's not going to show. So let's say we're like right here at contact, right? You see, you don't see it, but as soon as I reach that offset or that mark, it shows. Thank you for joining me. I had a ball with you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.